Hi, I'm Shira.
And I'm Shayna. We're behavior analysts that create weekly content about how to teach children with autism so that they make real progress. And we create shareable resources to make your job just a little easier. Today's topic is all about BCBA collaboration tips. And if you want more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated on new video releases.
So I work in a multi-disciplinary clinic that provides ABA as well as a lot of other therapies. And when we first started kind of merging the two, we'd hear a lot of like whisperings from some of the therapists being like, oh, I wouldn't recommend ABA. It's not really so good. They need other therapies. They don't need ABA. And we started kind of getting to the bottom of this. And we realized that like we just have a bad reputation and we weren't having those conversations with the other departments about what we really do in the ABA clinic. And so we started meeting with them. We started inviting them into ABA therapy sessions. We showed them the clinic, which is really just a big playroom. There aren't even small rooms or tables or anything like that. And it really helped them understand what ABA is and how we can all work together to help our clients reach their goals.
There's so many myths associated with ABA, and it's like, oh, you do ABA, and it's, what is that? Oh, I've heard it's bad, right?
And it's our fault.
It is our fault. And I think it's really great that, we need to say, no, come on in, watch what we do, because it really is play. And, I've watched a lot of speech sessions. I've watched OT sessions, and they're fabulous. You get some really great therapists and they have some really great ideas. And as behavior analysts, we need to be open to that and we need to collaborate more.
And something that I don't quite understand is why there are so many ABA places that really only offer ABA. And it's really a shame that there isn't more, multidisciplinary clinics out there where they can all work to support each other, because we can all work together to support the goals of our clients. And so how do we do that? Because it really is challenging. We're all coming at it from different perspectives. We have our goals, we have our assessments, we have our methods. And so how can we really incorporate other professionals into some of our programming? The first thing I would say is communicate. You have to have open communication with other professionals. And if you're working together on a client, then keeping them updated as to what's going on, how sessions are looking. If you're writing a report or you're making a behavior plan, they should be included in all of that. And then part of that communication might be getting their feedback. If you have a child who you've done a functional assessment and it's coming up that a lot of their behavior is maybe automatically reinforced, ask the OT, go over and say, here's the behavior plan. This is what the data are showing. Can you help me come up with maybe some sort of sensory activities that I can put into, some non-contingent breaks, and working together on that. So even thinking about that, there might be an opinion out there that's not part of the ABA world, and I can go and seek that out and include them in some of the plans that I'm making.
A lot of the things we do are fabulous, but there's also lots of other ideas and lots of other perspectives. And I talk about it being a bag of tricks, right? We have our bag of tricks as ABA therapists, but we need to have other things in our bag that aren't necessarily ABA approaches. And, when I watch speech therapy sessions, or if I watch occupational therapy sessions, there are some really, really great ideas out there. So the second thing is really be open. So it's not just about communicating, because you can communicate and say, my way is the highway, but it's about being open and being open to new ideas and trying those new ideas and really making sure that collaboration can be a group effort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we definitely don't know it all. And there's so much that we can learn from other professionals. Another kind of pet peeve of mine is when, especially behavior professionals, I don't find this with the other therapists, that we love to use technical terms. I don't know if it makes us sound smarter, but talking about a BIP and an SIB and a DRA. And it's such a pet peeve because nobody talks like that in real life. And if you're just trying to make it sound like what you're talking about to the other professionals, it doesn't come off good. I was sitting in a meeting recently with a whole team of people, and someone came in to get me because someone was having SIBing, and they're like, what's going on? What is this?
It's a verb now. It's SIBing.
It's just, talk normally. We're all on the same team. We don't need to use terms that other people don't understand, because they don't need to ask you, what do you mean by that? So use regular jargon. I think that this is something we always encourage people to do with parents, professionals, with each other. I'm not sure why there's so much terminology and acronyms in our profession, but I don't enjoy them.
It also makes us look unapproachable, right? So, when I first started in the field, every ABA therapist I knew walked around with a clipboard because you got to take data consistently, right? Now people walk around with their phones and taking data, electronically, but we still have something in front of our face, and that's not always great. Be open. So it goes along with that open communication, but making sure that you're not using those terms, that you can put down your clipboard or your phone to be able to be open to have that conversation so that we can actually look approachable.
Another way that we've found successful collaboration is we work with a lot of speech therapists, and a lot of the speech therapists we work with are trained in Gestalt language processing. And this is like a huge area of need for a lot of our kids who have ASD, who also happen to be Gestalt language processors. So instead of it being like, okay, you do that in speech and we do this in ABA, we've asked for training from the speech therapist, and they've been very happy to provide it on what Gestalt language is. And then we worked together to create language programs that are in line with Gestalt and are in line with, our typical traditional modes of teaching language. So maybe instead of building up phrases that like we think are important, we may use a Gestalt program to take the phrases they already have and model and shape that in a way that's more friendly to their Gestalt language processing. And we found that worked really well, because then the kids are getting a consistent approach to their language development. There is a lot of truth and value in taking on that approach of Gestalt. And we found it to be a lot more effective, that they're getting the same message in all their environments.
That consistent environment is key. If there's anything that you're ever questioning, though, so for instance, if you haven't heard of Gestalt language and you want to trust the SLP and, you've heard of progress, go and look for articles on it. Better yet, create your own programs like Shira said, and then collect data. There's certain kids who really excel with Gestalt and there's certain kids who don't. So, it might not be that, well, Gestalt doesn't work or Gestalt works for all kids. It's, well, for this particular individual, what's this going to look like? So make sure that if that you're collecting data throughout and making sure that whatever suggestions you're putting in place, that you're seeing that progress in the data.
Yeah. And then it was a trade-off. They did their training for our team. And then we offered a training on, behavior management techniques during a speech session or an OT session that were very friendly to that type of environment and how they could use some of those strategies. And so it was a constant give and take between the departments, is to see how can we better support each other, because the kids are getting so much therapy in different environments that if we can all talk the same language and be on the same page, then it's really just better for the kids.
Yeah, it's really great. And, another thing to remember is that everyone is a human being, right? Everyone is professional. Everyone is respected in their field. And, if you're, talking to an occupational therapist and you're, I'm not sure if that idea, I'm not sure about that one for my student, number one, vocalize that, but say, yeah, what, we're willing to do this and take some data, or, actually we're doing this right now instead. Here's the data to support this. But realize that they're professional in their field. So, they have knowledge that you don't. So make sure you're listening to that.
Mm-hmm. Something that I, always think back about is, there was a student who was working with a feeding professional who had a lot of training in feeding, and a different staff member who I think I wasn't aware that she was working with a feeding specialist came to me and asked me for suggestions on feeding. And so I provided, some suggestions that we have, which, we will talk about in our upcoming CEU webinar. But we were talking, and if I gave her the suggestions that I had, and the other professional was really, almost offended, but it's not your specialty. Why are you addressing feeding if I'm the feeding specialist? And that was kind of a lesson for me. And before giving suggestions on something, that there is another professional who covers this area, talk to that person. It turned out that when we met and talked about the actual suggestions that I gave, she was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. We can kind of collaborate on this. And it is in line with, what I may have suggested. But I think it's just about being considerate. And even if we do have the answer that they would have been comfortable with, including them in that solution and collaborating with them so that it's not we're not a one-man show. We do need to rely on other people and including them in that discussion, because we don't have all the answers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we keep saying communication. However, I've gone into school meetings before and I'll go in and, I get these looks oh, you're the ABA person, or we don't like ABA here. And it's, what do we do in those situations where, we want to communicate, we want to collaborate, but maybe another professional isn't open to it. In those situations, situations, really, you go back to ABA 101 and it's pairing yourself with reinforcement. And, it sounds a little bit silly because these are adults and, they're other professionals, but it's true. I'll walk into a classroom situation and the first thing I say is, hey, teacher, wow, you've got a really great, compliment them on something. They're a teacher. They've been in this field for however long, and they've probably got a really great classroom setup, or they've done a really great bulletin board, or, they've got some students who've done this, or, with your kiddo, they've done, something that's gone really well. Compliment them on that. Talk to them about, wow, you're doing a really great job, like with, 10 kids in your class or 30 kids in your class. Wow. I can't even imagine. And sometimes I go in with that line, like, wow, you have 30 kids. Wow. That's all I say. And they look at me and go, and 7 of them are on IEPs and blah, blah. And they just start unloading. And I know I'm in, right? Like, it's just that pairing process, but I'm genuine about it too. I'm not saying, wow, like I like the color of your shirt. Now listen to me. It's about pairing. It's about having that empathy though, as well. And really being, open to their side of their side of the coin, their opinion, their view, and starting a conversation that way.
And for more information on BCBA collaboration tips, click the link in and around this video or in the description to claim your free skills assessment for a BCBA download. And we also encourage you to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos, and leave a like and comment below if you have further questions.